I'm Lance Phillips. I'm jacketless this morning. Not sure where it went. Josh Ryan, did you have a hand in this?
If you're talking about that backstreet brawl we had, then I suppose, yes, I did have a hand in it.
You should introduce yourself sometime.
Yeah.
Where is my jacket?
You did say Josh Ryan, so you introduced me for yourself.
I think I just said Josh, didn't I?
No, I believe there's a Josh Ryan. Unless my memory is that poor and we only just started the
5
show.
seconds ago.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
This is The Gloves Are Off.
Heyo, sports fans. Lance Phillips, Josh Ryan, gloves are off.
Fresh after that fight backdoors.
Yeah, it was
A good one.
It was huge.
Yeah.
But there was no touching of the hands, the face. What is it? The hair face.
No touching of the hair face.
Or
we
the
live
face.
by Ron Burgundy's rules.
Hey, local sports heating up
Yes.
big time.
Yes. It's an
and
exciting part of the summer.
It is. And the CPCA season is coming up as well.
Yes.
On Friday, it begins in the Battlefords, and that's, Josh Ryan, where we're going to start today. I had a chance this weekend to go out to BJ Carey and JB Labacane's farm to visit their setup out there. And it got me thinking, Josh, about animal rights activists. And they have been present at the Calgary Stampede for years complaining about different things. But do they really have all the facts, I ask you?
I would say, based on what a lot of them have been lobbying for over the last couple of years, no. And you see that when they don't show up at local events in Lloydminster and rural places like that. They show up for the big event at the Stampede, obviously.
Part of that could be because there could be problems if they showed up in Dewberry or the Battlefords.
I suppose a few hostile people there. But when you get to see, as you said on the farm you were just at, you get to see how they work with the animals, the amount of attention and care they're done to them. And obviously there are risks that come, no question about it. But at least in this case, you found some animals that are actually essentially rescue horses.
Listen, I'm an animal lover. And one thing as a new person to the Lloydminster area, I still classify myself as that 6 months in, totally new to chuckwagon racing, I am terrified of seeing an animal get injured. That's the one thing I'm petrified of. I do not want to see it. I hope I don't see it this season. But that being said, what I experienced out at Jamie Labacane's farm with BJ Carey was incredible, and I was not expecting it. They rescue horses, is the long and the short of it. There were 2 or 3 horses out there from Arizona that they had brought back that were ex-race horses that had been put through the ringer, and they essentially rescued them. They would have been at the glue factory for sure by now. And that is not only heartwarming, it's great to see this kind of thing. And I don't believe that animal rights activists are up to date on all these different things and how caring these people are for their animals.
Absolutely. And while it's important for activists and such, that keeps, the balance of things, it keeps maybe some people from mistreating animals if they had, not had any attention from anyone else. But in this case, I think definitely more research helps. And as you see, there's a reason why it's still remains so popular and why there's been so many policies in place to make sure your animals are treated properly.
And one of the things here could be that actual people who race these horses could be the ones that are setting the bad example for the chuckwagon drivers who they've got 30 plus horses, they're getting tons of rest, they're fed well, their living accommodations are excellent. Like they're cared for better than humans, I think, in some ways. Like really, really great to see, and I really enjoyed my time out there.
And they have to do obviously a lot extra too with how bad the winters can be sometimes.
You're not kidding.
Yeah, those winters have been good in recent years to Athletic Director Al Rogen. A great success certainly last year with the Rustlers program, a women's volleyball championship. Most of the teams in the playoffs, minus the women's soccer team and men's volleyball team. He got honored recently as Athletic Director of the Year for the ACAC and was their representative for the CCAA.
Coming up in our second segment.
And a great interview that we're really looking forward to seeing. It'll be interesting to see what his legacy is when he decides to eventually step away from the athletic scene in Lloydminster.
What he's doing right now is paving the way to a great legacy. But there's one missing thing here.
Which
and
is?
I don't think we're going to agree on this. They need to introduce another sport. I think it needs to be hockey of some sort. I think they need to get a men's or women's hockey team and have it succeed for Al Rogen to really cement a legacy at Lakeland College.
That's interesting because that's a tough sport for a lot of schools to establish. There's so many costs involved. This is a hockey town, which does bode well for trying to start that eventually, I think. But I think it's going to be tough in this climate because of how many cuts all of these athletic programs, even some of the bigger athletic schools that have more research.
What do you think he needs to do?
Well, I think just within the athletic circle of college sports in the ACAC, I think if he can get to a point where every team in the school makes the playoffs, essentially.
Wow.
They're very close to that already, but if he could get another extra team or two in the playoffs, maybe more than one championship in the same year, Obviously, you had a national and provincial championship last year, but if you can get a championship, say with volleyball, a championship with men's basketball or women's basketball, maybe a soccer championship, you get multiple success stories in 1 year, plus overall continued competitiveness as they have had, then I think that cements his job.
I believe it's a
ACC.
foregone conclusion that each of these teams will eventually make the playoffs. I believe that will happen. We're going to see that. Maybe even this coming season we may see that. Winning a championship may be a different story. And while I agree, I still believe that they need another sport introduced. And it may not, even if it's successful in the fact that it goes 500 for the first few years, just getting that sport in there, and I think it needs to be a hockey, should really cement the legacy that Al Rogen is. I mean, he's already an incredible athletic director, but that would really do it.
And I know the ACSA would love to have another women's hockey team, as it's a small enough league already, only 5 teams. You have that 6th team. Obviously, costs and things like that, travel costs could go up, but long term, that's better for the league to have more schools involved.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the Lloydminster Vandals and Parkland Predators. Had a first opening season game. I guess that's the same thing, first and opening season. That would make sense. Game on Sunday. Were the Vandals beat up on the Predators? To put it lightly, 66-0 was the final score. The Parkland Predators, Josh, played with 12 players. Just to recap, you can play a football game, but you must have 12 in the field at all times in Canadian football. That means all 12 of those players played the whole game. It's unheard of, and it makes me wonder if in senior league football, is the AFL doomed because these teams may have trouble getting players out?
Well, I know that some of those guys are doomed on a fitness perspective because they're going to get a workout every week. Certainly it's a concern to have. I know there's other teams in the league, including the Vandals, that have had trouble getting players to play each year. But again, remember, there are 8, 9 teams in the league. You have a variety of level of competitiveness. This will be tough for Parkland, certainly, because the Vandals aren't considered one of the top teams in the league necessarily, and they already beat up Parkland so poorly. But I wouldn't say this one loss dooms the entire league. I mean, and maybe losing one team could hurt it, but there's still enough of a number there that I think football is popular enough they'll keep coming back.
But
at
these
least
are
for the next few
senior
years.
players. They're players like you and I who are going to work every day. Like, I would love to play tackle football, but I cannot justify going out there and busting up a leg or breaking off a limb to come back to not being able to come back to work. And I feel a lot of guys are probably leaning that way. It's supposed to be for fun, but at the same time, these guys are putting it out there. And I just don't see this league maintaining, I can't see it maintaining this long term. I mean, I know it's been around a long time, but over the course of the next 10 years, are we going to start to see players fizzle out more? I believe we are.
I think you'll really learn about it over the next 4 or 5 years. If you see guys start to drop out and drop off in the next couple of years, and you see a team or 2 drop off, then I think we can be pretty concerned. Until then, I think it's a little bit of wait and see with this league, at least going forward for the next while. One team that is in a league that's not in any danger, and a team that's actually on the rise, that'd be the Lloydminster Extreme, getting their win against the Warriors to move to 500. Is this maybe a sign of turning for the club, and maybe a chance that they could be competing longer this season?
They looked good the other night against the Edmonton Warriors. Now, the Edmonton Warriors aren't a great measuring stick. They have not won a game yet this season, but the Extreme look good. Are they championship worthy? If they can play together, yes, they definitely could be a championship team, but they need to have team cohesiveness. They need to stop being individuals and be more as a team, and I think they still struggle with that to some extent. Great contributions from some young call-up players, 16-year-old kids that scored. Their 2 call-ups actually scored on Sunday. Means great things. I'm not sure this is the year they're a championship team, but within the next couple of years, definitely.
Definitely, and that's a good sign, obviously, going forward. The thing about this year that's nice to see is that when they execute, they have no trouble scoring goals. They have no trouble getting to that double-digit mark. And it's important, even though the Warriors, as we were saying off camera, aren't necessarily the strongest team they'll face in competition, it's important to be able to beat up on those teams once in a while, instead of being stuck in a situation where you're just kind of playing down to their level. Right. That game wasn't close.
No.
And that shouldn't have been close, but that's a good sign of continued consistency going forward for the club. Well,
they're in a good spot, and they've got great coaching. We've talked about it before. Graham Murray, who was on the program a few weeks ago, excellent coaching ability. They've got some great players. Cody Capel is a standout returnee for them, who scored, I think, 4 goals on Sunday, at least 3 or 4 goals, and he's played out of his mind, basically, and their goaltending's been excellent as well. So good things are ahead for them this year, and then they should be a postseason team that could cause some noise, and that would mean a lot for that program. And it means a lot for players that are trying to get to the next level.
And it means a lot because they've been knocking on the door the last couple of years. They've been very close. Perhaps now, if they can build up some momentum the rest of the way, this season could be that season they break through.
The Lloydminster Red Dogs are a team that may never lose again. I know I've said that 100 times, but they recently had their awards banquet, giving out awards to their top athletes, which you can make a case for pretty much anybody on the team. Josh Ryan, did they get their awards correct this year? And let's talk offensive and defensive of MVP, because we had discussed these a little bit in a previous show. Offensive MVP, Bryce Zerr on the offensive line. And when Paul Amundrud gave this award out, he made the point that a good quarterback isn't a great quarterback unless the offensive line can keep people from getting to him. And I thought that was an interesting point. In that particular aspect, do you think they got the call right?
I think they did, because you still got to honor Garrett Musgrave, you got to honor Chopper Hipp, you got to honor all of the guys that we were kind of talking about last week, and yet they still got to honor other guys who, like a guy like Bryce Zerr, who doesn't necessarily get the attention he deserves. As you said, what Paul Amundrud
He's going to get it. He's going to get it come university time.
Absolutely. And as you said, like having strong linemen that are consistent as well and keep their quarterback out of harm's way, that makes such a difference. That's why the greatest quarterbacks of all time in the pros last a long time, because those offensive lines are so solid and they don't let them get hit so much. And certainly the Red Dogs didn't let their QBs get hit very much. Bryce Zerr was absolutely a reason why that happened.
On the defensive side, Eli Clausen got defensive MVP, which was interesting, and it may be a surprise to some people, as I think some people thought that Chopper Hippie would get the award. You and I both thought that. But Eli is incredible in the backfield. He's another graduating player. Do you like the fact that he got the award, or do you think that it should have been Chopper?
I mean, again, I certainly picked Chopper, but he got the co-team MVP
we'll get
anyway.
to that for sure.
So to me, like, that means you're still honoring just how important he is, and you're just able to highlight another guy. It gets kind of boring if you're doing a team-only award ceremony and you only honor 2 or 3 guys the whole time. This way you spread the wealth in a way that makes sense and no one feels left out or no one feels undervalued.
Co-MVP, Garrett Musgrave, Chopper Hippie. Do you like the co-MVP?
I do like the co-MVP
because
both of them were dominant, very dominant players.
All right, good stuff.
And then we move on to another team that had a few awards handed out recently that you got to enjoy, of course, and recently just had their camp now, the Bonnyville Pontiacs. Over 160 players at their prospects camp. Though they do lose some key players,
they do.
A lot of talent at this particular camp. Do you think they return to that 38, 39, 40 win plateau they've been at the last couple of years?
Well, 40 wins this past season was a historical high for them. It's the highest they've ever gotten. 40, 11, and 9 they went. And can they get to 40 wins again, losing some of the players they lose? Alden Dupuy is gone. Not sure. The ace in the hole here is that Derek Brown will be back this coming season, and that is massive. He's committed to Arizona State, but due to a technical issue, he can't go this year. He's going to play Bonnyville Pontiacs hockey one more time. That's massive, and there was some talent at that prospects camp. Let me tell you, are they going to be a 40-win season? I'm not sure, but they're going to be high 30s if they're not 40.
And I think with that addition from Brown, that does increase their chances, because before they're looking at having to fill a lot of key holes, both from a leadership perspective and from a skills position perspective as well. Now with a guy like Derek back, you only have to fill in a few spots. And now some of those younger guys who have the talent, as you said, from this camp, will be given a little bit more leeway to experience what it's like to play in the AJHL the first couple of weeks of the season and work into a regular role.
And they had some guys out there who are AJHL experienced. It's not their first rodeo in the AJHL. So there are some guys that potentially could make this team. Look, they're going to take 60 guys to their main camp, including returning players. And this means that some of the returning guys may not make this team. Like, there's some guys out there that are going to challenge for spots and they're going to take 18D, they're going to take 6 goalies and 36 forwards. And of that, they're going to select a team, and it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one yet again. And say what you want, it's because of what Rick Swan is doing for that organization and the culture he's instilling there. Players want to go play there, and that's evident when you have to turn 40 players away.
And having to turn down veteran guys who have made the team but then get cut, sometimes that's not necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, because you're getting more skill involved.
Right.
But sometimes if a team, especially with championship teams, can get complacent and losing that one guy that you're used to seeing sometimes is a little bit of a, okay, this means business. We need to do more this year. And with a team, Bonneville Pontiacs rather, who
it's a tongue twister.
Yes, for me it is anyway. For a team like this who hasn't won a championship but they've been very competitive and consistent, maybe this is okay, we want to do more than that now. We want to be a championship team. So maybe a good sign for them going forward.
They are on the cusp, no doubt. The NBA playoffs are nearly over, thank the Lord, because it has been dreadful to watch. Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors are facing off for the third straight time in the NBA Finals. A lot of people, Josh, preach parity in the league. Do you like parity, or do you like that these two teams dominate? Is it good for the NBA?
I prefer parity, but I'm, a hockey fan, a Canadian. I come from that perspective, seeing
You're a
any
basketball
team.
fan too.
I am a basketball fan, but having grown up around loving seeing upsets and such, it does get a little predictable with the NBA. The problem with this particular postseason is the fact that these two teams have crushed everybody. The thing that made the Heat run fun, even though people hated the Miami Heat, was that it seemed like a possibility they might lose.
For sure.
Obviously, losing to the Mavericks in that first year of the 4-year run was part of that. But even the Lakers and Kobe and Shaq, they had some Game 7s against the Sacramento Kings, close series against the Spurs. Even Jordan's Bulls had a couple of close series that Jordan had to then pull out and bail his team out of. Whereas these two teams, one loss. One loss for the Cavaliers, none for the Warriors, and they're winning by 30, 40 points.
This is bad for the NBA. This is bad for the NBA. If you want to have fans watching your sport, don't have two teams being the top dogs. That's totally bad for the league. And when Charles Barkley is saying he's glad the NHL playoffs are happening,
because it's something to watch.
what does that tell you? It tells you all you need to know, that this is not a good thing. And they need to figure out a way to get more parity in this league. And I'm not sure how they're going to do that.
Last year we had a great Western Conference final between the Warriors and the Thunder that went the distance of 7 games. Got huge ratings, got people talking about the league. Now Durant goes to the Warriors. Thunder are out in 5 games in the beginning of the playoffs. And then that conference final, which means a lot of dollars for the NBA. They got good ratings for these conference finals, but when it's going 4 games instead of 7 games, advertisers start talking, because that's 3 or 4 other nights where their products are going to be advertised, and they're not, because none of these series are close. Again, having the hype of this third time matchup is great, because these two teams are going to be tight, and it's probably going to be a great series. But at the same time, we need more games. We need a lot more games from these two teams and these two conferences.
Yeah, no, for sure. What about Tiger Woods, Josh Ryan?
Well, what about Tiger Woods is he's a mess, Lance Phillips. Tiger Woods, for you guys who don't know, was arrested with a DUI. It's not the first time, obviously, he's been in trouble. That famous incident where he ran his car into a tree.
What a mess.
His affairs came out. His divorce happened. His wife took a beating to him with a golf club. And then injuries happening later in his career, and a couple of bad performances, even when he was still one of the top golfers in the world. Recently, he said he was planning on playing again. Now, are we ever going to see Tiger Woods get better? And is this the worst we've seen of Tiger Woods at this point?
No, I don't think it is the worst we've seen of Tiger Woods. He's on a spiral, and the spiral had happened before. He kind of came back. Now the spiral's beginning again. And I think we're going to see some really interesting things happen in the world of Tiger Woods that aren't good as we progress here over the next year. This guy is a train wreck. His life is a mess, and I'd like to say I'm sad, but I'm not sad.
Do you really think it can get worse than getting hit over the head by your wife with a golf club? And
yeah.
You think it can get worse than that?
Well, what were we talking about earlier about the porn stars?
That's pretty bad.
That he was with a whole bunch of porn stars?
Well, yeah.
I don't know if that's a bad thing.
He lost all his
he
lost all his brands after that. Lost a lot of his millions.
Guy's got lots of money. Got lots of money.
Well, could have had more.
He's a disaster, and we're going to see some really great things happen. And by great, I mean, I shouldn't say great. Great's a wrong term, but we're going to see some things happen that are going to make your head spin with this guy. He'll spiral.
The one nice thing, at least for golf, is there are some young stars that are great. So you get to see Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy, and such.
Fair.
Give the sport interest. But yeah, I don't know if you say no press is bad press, but I don't know if seeing Tiger Woods.
Did I say that? I said no press is bad press?
Yeah, you did one time.
No, I've never said that kind of thing.
Okay, well, you were just explaining it basically now.
I've never said no press is bad press. That's ridiculous. Some press is bad press for sure. Tiger Woods press is bad.
Well, that, yes.
On the other side, Al Rogen joins us in studio to discuss Athletic Director of the Year.
We're back. You can keep your gloves on, but ours are off.
Welcome back to The Gloves Are Off. Lance Phillips, Josh Ryan, pleased to be joined by one of our favorite people at Lakeland College.
Yeah, I'd say
Josh.
so.
Is that a fair assessment?
I'd say so, yeah.
Mr. Al Rogen, Athletic Director.
Nice to meet you.
Glad to have you.
Glad to be back.
Glad to have you. And we're glad to have you because it's a good day for you. I mean, it was a good day a while ago, but Athletic Director of the Year for the Alberta Conference. How great does that sound?
Oh, it sounds great. Yeah, it's great when they announced it at our general meeting that we received the Athletic Director of the Year, but it's not an individual award in my mind.
Yeah.
There's no way that this accolade comes to our institution if we don't get buy-in from everybody. So it's really a department award, it's an institution award because everybody needs to contribute to get to this level, right?
And you obviously had great contributions from all of your staff this year. It was another really successful year for Lakeland Athletics.
Oh, absolutely. We academically, we haven't got second semester results in yet, but highest ever GPAs collectively as a department. Our programs are involved in the community. Medals, first ever national championship gold. It just kept going and going. All of our coaches are involved in committees at the ACAC level. So just everybody contributed, and it was just a fantastic year for Lakeland Rustlers Athletics.
If I had told you at the beginning of this season, before I even came here, that you were going to have the year that you were going to have as a college, what would you say to that?
I probably wouldn't have thought the successes that we had this year, we were going to get there that quickly. We've been building towards every year being better every year, and that's what we try to do as an institution, as one of the smaller institutions in the ACAC. Getting to where we were able to achieve some of the goals this year, I probably would have said, well, yeah, we're working towards that. I don't know if I'd say, oh yeah, absolutely, we'll get there. It just shows you that hard work, teamwork, everybody buying into a belief, into a plan, it pays off, right? Mm-hmm. So.
And that's really characteristic of the girls' season this year with the women's volleyball team. It's exactly that buy-in eventually paid off. Absolutely.
The gals, the coaching staff believed into what we believe in as a department. The gals believed in it. They believed in all three components of what we try to do, like academically, athletically, and in the community. They bought into everything that we're about as a department, everything we preach all the time to our coaches and our athletes. And it's great to see that pay off at the level it did this year, because it just adds more value to it next year when you have, at the beginning of the season, you sit down, you have the collective meeting with all the student athletes to talk about, it's important to believe into one big philosophy as a department. This is who we are and what we're about. And, women's volleyball did it this year. Futsal teams were medal winners as well at the ACAC championships. We sent our curling teams off to the national championships as well. So, just great stuff.
One of the things that Austin said to me during the conference championship when they won was,
other than it's the best?
Yeah, he said that all.
He did say that.
It's true.
This is the best.
He said that the next 4 weeks afterwards.
He's probably still saying it, actually.
Yeah,
if we were interviewing him, I'm
Probably.
sure he'd still say that.
Yeah.
But one of the things he said that I thought was really interesting is he said, the school lets us be great.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting quote. And I didn't press him any further on it, but I'll ask you, what does he mean by that? What kind of things does the school do to give their coaches the tools to succeed?
What we try to do is we try to supply them with the tools they need to be successful. Are we giving our coaches and our teams everything they need to be at the highest level possible? No, but every year we try to add one more piece to the puzzle. So, when we were out at Nationals, Austin says, well, we need this. I said, look, I'm here to take the barriers out of your way so you can focus on coaching your team and achieving the highest level possible. And that's what we try to do for all of our programs throughout the year, is take the barriers out of the way to allow their teams to be great. And great might be achieving the highest level ever for that team, or it might be winning a national championship, and every team's a little bit different, but we continue to move through the year and try to build on that individual program's success, and then collectively as a department we're going to get better.
How important is that, being able to allow coaches to not have to focus on other tasks as much and just really focus on the athletes?
It's huge. There's still other parts that they have to focus on, like they still have to do some fundraising, they still have to do engagement in the community, they have to make sure their student athletes are doing the job academically, but we try to take pieces of that extra work away from them. We'll never be able to take everything away from them, because I think you need to be involved in the holistic life of the student athlete while they're at the institution. Our coaches take great pride in that. But if we can take away some of the barriers, like some of the financial barriers, as much as possible away from them, we attempt to do that. We're not 100% there yet, but we try to get there.
One thing that I think is incredible is that, coming from Ontario, my dad was at Sir Sanford Fleming for years, so I'm familiar with schools like Humber, the massive schools in Ontario, and I think it's incredible that this small college in Lloydminster produces quality programs like you do. How do you do it and compete against these huge schools, like NAID as an example?
We have our challenges for sure, right? But we have to take a look at what our strengths are. And our strengths are that we're in a smaller community. Mm-hmm. So, we've hosted conference championships here, and we get incredible buy-in. If you talk to Austin about hosting a women's volleyball championship, one of the reasons why I think they found success is because we had 600 cheering fans for Lakeland College in the gym. We have incredible media coverage. These are the little things that we do that some of the bigger centers can't do. If you're in a bigger center, your media coverage is going to be what we get here. So when we fire that back to their parents, the kids see their name in lights, or they get interviewed, it's a huge thing that they can go back and promote Lakeland College back in their community, saying, well, hey, I was in the newspaper, or I got interviewed on TV, pull it up on Bell, or whatever the station is. And the kids, they then become our greatest promoters. So, do we have the same amount of dollars that Humber does? No. Do we, do we get the fancy stuff Humber does? No. But we can do the little things a little bit better than the Humbers of the world, and then we can use that to promote. Because we know we're never going to be an institution of 24,000 students, but we can be the best at our size, and we can still compete against the other ones by taking the little things that we do better.
And that definitely must have helped the girls at that conference championship. You must have been happy with, about capacity crowd first night, absolutely capacity crowd second night, and then third night you had, people lined up across to make room for dignitaries like the mayor and such. That's wild, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's the great part about being in our communities of Lloydminster and Vermilion is the communities rally behind what we do. When we host these events, we rely on volunteers in the community, and it's to the point now where our volunteers are saying, okay, what are we hosting next year? And the championship isn't even over yet, because they're enjoying their experience, and the crowd comes in, and they're just amping up the environment for our student athletes. It's massive. And if you go, I've been to national championships where our Lakeland isn't involved, and you can hear crickets in the gym. It's just because the host team isn't competing, or they just can't get the buy-in from their community. So, we're fortunate to be in the community we're in, because our crowds are phenomenal. Our support from the community is incredible.
What do you hope to, if you think of the next 3 or 4 years, let's say, what do you hope the school can accomplish athletically?
I think we can be successful in one of our programs. I think retention of our coaches is huge. We've been able to retain our coaches for a period of time. Having to train new staff every year, every second year, it gets difficult, because you have to get them to buy into your philosophy, your understanding of your program, and what your institution is about. We have some coaches here that have been around 2-3 years or longer, and so that's a huge piece. Retention for coaches. Retain our student athletes for past 2 years is a big piece as well. So if we can, women's volleyball is a great example of that. If you can retain them for more than 2 years, then they're experienced and they understand the game. They understand what it takes to be winners, to be successful in all aspects of the sport. Women's basketball had a couple of years ago, same thing. We were able to retain our student athletes. And then, you know, support from the institution. And we know Lakeland College supports athletics, and it's important to Lakeland College. It's just, there's only so much they can do. It's like with all of our other programs at the institution. There's only so many financial resources they can put behind it. And so we, you know, we work with the institution on how, you know, we can elevate support to our programs.
Down the road, I know there's some institutions that have been adding sports going along. Obviously, a lot of schools adding futsal now that it's become grown. Other schools adding soccer for the first time and so forth. Keano, before they lost their hockey team, added a hockey team recently. Down the road, is there other sports you guys are maybe thinking about adding to your arsenal? Obviously, it might be further down the road.
Yeah, you know, it's a big conversation. You know, a few years ago, we were exploring the potential of women's hockey. You know, this is an area where there's a lot of strong women's hockey, but there's nowhere to go for a lot of the gals that compete in this area. So they end up going to the city or to Red Deer to compete at the next level. Right. But we want to make sure that if we add a program that we're not pulling from other programs to build a new program, because if you're making your other programs weaker by adding one more program, then it really doesn't make sense. So we want to make sure that the time is right, that we have the resources available to add an additional program, and it's a good fit for Lakeland College. It's a good fit for our community. And if all those boxes get checked off, then, you know, we could be adding a women's hockey program. We could be adding a golf program. But is there anything in the next couple of years on our radar? Not right now, but if the opportunity is right and, you know, check boxes are all checked off, then there is that potential for sure.
I'd love to have more college sports at Lakeland. That'd be awesome.
I think it'd be awesome
More and more things happening.
Yeah.
Alan, congratulations on winning Athletic Director of the Year. That is quite an accomplishment. And I mean, I'm sure I speak for you, Josh, when I say it makes me proud as someone who gets to cover the school that you've received that. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Really,
Thanks for coming in.
really glad to have you in, and continued success down the road.
Thank you.
Next on The Gloves Are Off, Albert, the Twitter mailbird, and he is full.
He's fired up this week.
He is fired up this week.
We're back, and the gloves are still off.
Welcome back, Josh Ryan over there, Lance Phillips over here.
Yeah, that's correct.
Beach is that way. Sorry, I should have gone Albert.
Tweet.
Oh, Albert has not been to the beach very often, as you
No,
can
he's
see.
too
He's stuck on a bender at home.
Needs a tan big time.
But he did supply us with plenty of tweets, so that's always helpful.
Load it
Anyway.
up.
I'm going to start.
Yeah,
I
we're
guess
gonna have to fly
I
through
jumped in, but
we're
I'm
gonna
gonna start.
no, that's fine. We're gonna have to fly through these.
All
today.
right, let's fly through them. Belarusian president, this is from Matt Bardian. Belarusian president calls national hockey team absolutely spineless following World Championship. Amazing how these world leaders just trash on their athletes, eh?
Their own athletes. They were bad. But yeah, that'd be like Justin Trudeau calling the Canadian hockey team spineless.
I mean, well,
Maybe the Canadian soccer team.
Vladimir Putin also, when he said, if we lose this Olympic medal, then our entire Olympics is a failure. And then they did. And he said it's a failure.
This is awesome. This is amazing. This is from Nicole Anderson, wife of Senator's goaltender Craig Anderson. The two words we prayed to hear, cancer-free. And that is the news that Nicole Anderson received this past week, that she is in full-blown remission. That is fantastic.
It is indeed. After such a long run from the Senators, obviously that cancer battle, and then to lose heartbreaking like they did, it's a little bit of a respite for Craig,
right,
knowing that, you know, season's over, that run's over. There's so many mixed emotions there, but this is bigger than hockey. And to get this as your news after you find out your work is over, that's huge and awesome. Great for him and his family, the entire Senators organization.
Mail in the beak.
I am up. I better move more quickly.
Take it easy, Albert.
Eric Francis, great reporter. NHL notables Coffey, Gillies, Trottier, and McSorley, a couple of old New York Islanders and one Edmonton Oilers, disturbed by the rats in these playoffs and are happy that the Sens are out.
It's the latter part of that statement that's really compelling. Glad the Senators are out. Like, why would you be glad that they're out? I don't understand that.
The only two things that pop to mind for me are they do play a style of play that's a little bit less exciting than, say, the Penguins or the Preds. And then maybe just because they're a small market team, they want to see more attention on hockey.
Many good storylines.
But I
in
totally
there,
agree with you on that. So many
Hey,
great
there's
stories between Craig
mail.
Ennis and his wife, and also the number of guys that played through pain. So many things there.
MasterCard Memorial Cup was this past weekend, and of course the Windsor Spitfires came out victorious. And the Windsor Spitfires were also the host, who were ousted in the first round of the playoffs. So this is Steve Simmons at Simmons Steve. Why is it Bush when a stacked Erie team had 2 opportunities to beat Windsor and they don't get it done? The format didn't defeat Erie, of course. He is responding to another Twitter basher. Another host team wins Memorial Cup without winning its league. Bush brings up an interesting conversation. You know, does this format need to change where the host team is not automatically into the Memorial Cup?
I would say that had it been single elimination, you would probably more easily make that argument, but it's huge for the host city when that team gets to host. And honestly, the parity is enough that I think that's what makes it exciting to have that underdog when it happens.
They did win 4 straight games.
But they have to win a round robin and a playoff.
That's what I mean.
game.
They won 4 straight games.
So to me, if you get hot at the right time, obviously there's some luck involved, but at least there's some consistency in winning there, and it's not just we're matched up against the top team and we won.
Fair.
You know, and I think
You've
that's
got
the key
mail.
part of that argument. I mean, we saw that with the RBC Cup, Lloydminster Bobcats getting to the final. That was so exciting for the city. This is from Cabby Cabral Richards, but known to you all as Cabby, of course. Special Ops giving at Milos Raonic a psychological advantage at the French Open. And as you can see there, Raunic's attire doing a great job of blending him in with the clay
What
court.
was he wearing? He must have been wearing something fluorescent.
Yeah.
Because they could just key that out.
Perfect color matchup with that clay court. I don't think I've ever seen an athlete actually wear that kind of attire at the French Open. They usually wear a much brighter attire or darker.
They've keyed it out. He's not wearing. You mean he's wearing an outfit with a stripe?
I saw the
Hey,
unedited
there's mail.
version. He does almost blend in still. It's crazy. They're always either wearing black or white.
All right. This is Steven Souza Jr. And of course, because we don't have baseball rights here on The Gloves Are Off, we can't show you the film, but you can make draw your own conclusions. Steven Souza Jr. made hit a botched play in the outfield. Let's just say that. At StatCast, can we get a breakdown on my play tonight? To the response from StatCast. At Souza Jr. We checked. You needed to cover 73 feet and came up 23 short. 0% catch probability, but a 5-star effort, to which Souza Jr. responded, if this were Space Jam, I'd stretch out my arm and cover it just like that.
It's nice to see an athlete have a little bit of self making fun of himself humor, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
You don't see that often.
Hey, there's mail.
It humanizes them.
Yeah, self-referential
I
humor,
love making
guess.
fun of myself, too. That's amazing.
This is from Mark Mathot 3. Back to the Senators. Feeling all kinds of emotions after that tough night. Though battered and bruised, it was all worth the ride. Thank you, Sens fans. And that's great.
It was
Sums up the run.
pretty awesome.
It was an awesome run.
And he did it he did it after his finger was half
You've
ripped
got
off, too,
mail.
which is incredible.
One of many Senators battling so many tough injuries during that
this is
postseason
true.
run.
All right, so this is VC Nationals at VC Nationals. This is courtesy of you, Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
4 major shout-outs. Spectacular coaches accepting awards are Ernest Friesen, Caden Mirza, Fane Triggs, and Kayla Gabrick. Hashtag Defy Gravity. Hashtag CGY, as in Calgary, Nats.
Obviously
That's some more volleyball stuff from the Lakeland Wrestlers.
Yeah, Caden Mirza. And the other guy pictured there is Bryston Keck, who will not be playing for the Wrestlers this year. He's going on to play for the Brandon Bobcats at the university level. But both of them stuck around to coach some club over the spring and did a nice job with the youngsters.
Yeah.
Mail in the beak.
And we have time for one more, I think.
Oh, let's go. Let's
All
keep
right.
Let's keep this train rolling.
All right, this is from one of our favorites at What He Looks Like. You know where this is coming. Bill Belichick's face looks like his son just told him that he wants to be a professional trapeze artist. Yeah, I agree with that. That's pretty accurate.
Doesn't it though? Like
It does.
It totally does. Like
And I mean, he always looks like
You've
that,
got
let's be
mail.
honest. But
all right.
it's pretty
apparently we
accurate.
have a minute left. Let's bang it.
Okay, we have
This
a
is
couple
great. So this is Pat Gregoire at P Greggy. This is a gentleman I went to school with. Great guy. Live look at the Toronto Blue Jays 2017 season. And of course, coming up from the grave, are the Blue Jays, and they are. They're nearly at 500, and it's incredible what they've done.
This is the third straight year they've done that, where they've had a terrible start in April, but they've rebounded and become one of the hottest teams in baseball. I mean, they almost did it for 4 years.
Hey, there's mail.
All right, let's bang out a couple more.
Long way
here.
to go. I have faith, though, unlike my partner here. At Ben Stonium, ref, too many men? And as you can see there, yeah, it looks like there was too many men on the ice. Amazing they missed that call.
Tweet.
Men's humor. When you bring your side chick to the game and the Jumbotron puts you on blast. That is incredible.
That should be a score to this
It
next time.
should be. All right. On the other side, score this.
If you can't score, you might as well drop the gloves.
Hey, Lance Phillips, Josh Ryan, and during the commercial break, Josh was asking me why I decided not to put the suit jacket on when it showed up between our first and second segment.
Why didn't you put it on?
Because I actually felt quite comfortable like this. It was hot. I was hot during our interview with Al Rogen, and I decided it was time to keep it off.
All right.
So
I mean,
I'm rolling with it.
If we were both about to go work out, though, I think I'd be more prepared than you are. I'm much harder right now. Much harder than you are.
He's warm. All right, let's
warm.
start with score this. And the first video we have is an amazing sport, if you can call it that, Josh. This is a ladder race, and if you've never seen ladder racing, this is something to watch. And it's, yeah, they're rolling. They're rolling.
I've just had no idea this was a thing.
No,
but it's amazing.
Look how quick they go up that thing.
I mean, how fit do those guys have to do? Unless those ladders are like 2 pounds.
What I wonder if they're steel ladders and they're magnetic. Like, could you imagine if that was a steel ladder?
I can't even like lift that with. I mean.
So they must
my
have
hands.
hooks that they hook them up and then they
guess.
keep going. All right, what do you score on that?
Or they're just
12
or they're just, you know what they might be? They're just superheroes. And that's what they do. I was going to score this lower because I was a little confused, but that was amazing. It was kind of amazing, man.
8, baby. That is awesome.
I thought
it's actually really amazing.
Yeah.
All right. This is no joke, okay? This is the Lloydminster Vandals Parkland Predators. Sound is on for this one. Oh! Crunched.
Oh.
It's really...
I'm amazed he got up as fast as he did.
So the funny thing is that that player got hit later in the game by the same Vandal down the field.
Poor guy.
Alan Snowden, I believe, was his name.
I also love the reaction of the fans on the bench.
Yeah, for
getting
sure.
Really
what do you got?
Honestly, like that hurt me a little bit, so I can't give it a 10. But it was a great tackle.
Can I say?
Wow!
I'm thinking alike today. 9.
This
That's
has
a 9.
never happened before.
No, I think it's happened once.
No.
Okay, this
top
is
two,
awesome.
no.
So this is a video that kind of went viral recently, where a gentleman decided it'd be a good idea to launch himself off a garbage can. And you can, first of all, this guy embodies the Greek god here, doesn't he? Look at the body on this guy. That is dad bod next level.
It's a great bathing
Look at
suit
him
as
strutting
well.
around, eh? Like just a beauty.
He was clearly confident going into this. Oh! Oh. He might have trouble fathering children.
But I actually think he hit his tailbone more than he did anything else.
Well, I mean, he better hope he hit his tailbone instead of anything.
What do you got?
Else. For him, and we're just grading this purely on the
Also,
diving
yeah,
attempt, he at least got over the bar, but that's all I can Whoa!
I know, believe it. I gave him a 2 because I thought the strut was something. I thought the strut around was pretty good, so we'll give him that. All right, so
this has never happened before.
This next clip we have is minor league baseball. When I say minor league, I mean very minor league.
Hey, it's the Tykes.
No, it is. It's actually kind of cute. It's a pretty
T-ball.
solid hit. Pitcher misses it.
That's a good T-ball hit. Ooh.
Not so good. But we'll just carry on. We'll just carry on. Why is there no dirt in the infield? What are we playing in here? They're playing in the outfield.
I guess it's because they knew these guys like to do this head roll thing, and it's eliminating how much dirt the moms have to clean up afterwards.
Dude is amazing. All right, what do you score that?
I'm going to give that a 9 for creativity.
Oh, okay. I went 7.
Okay.
I feel like
why
the
a 7?
somersaults could have had slightly better form.
Oh.
But we'll roll with
We're
it.
grading 4-year-olds now, are we?
That's how I roll.
All right.
All right. This next one is amazing. So, guy on a skateboard.
Yes.
Skateboards have wheels. If you don't keep your balance, it can get ugly. Like this.
Hence why I never use a skateboard.
This is gonna end badly.
Oh! Oh my goodness.
You want to look again?
Ah!
Dude, what are you doing? What are you doing?
This is why when you go to do anything that requires stupidity, you give it a second thought before.
What are you doing, man?
You block out, you approach it like Daniel Day-Lewis. You block out the scene, know exactly where you're going to go before you lose the ability to fear children. I will go with a 1, because, man, what an idiot.
9. The world needs more of that. The world needs more of that.
Maybe that's the problem with the world, is we have so many of those.
The world needs more of that, Josh. That, honestly, just amazing. Coming up on the other side, Bow Wow.
Yeah,
No
Bow
good
Wow.
ones.
I don't know how I'm going to top that.
We're back. You can keep your gloves on, but ours are off.
I'm still laughing about
I'm laughing the whole break.
the guy in the skateboard's amazing. Okay, best of week, worst of week. Let's start with best of week. Some more local content from
Yes,
the
good to see.
Lloydminster Extreme against the Edmonton Warriors. This is pretty good. So this is a goal that was scored going through a few guys. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll score.
Nicely done.
Just so you know,
Left
Josh
3 dudes
Ryan,
on the floor.
there's only 5 guys on the floor at any one time for the Warriors. So to go through
Oh,
almost all of them is pretty impressive.
It's a good hit on his own dude on
Yeah,
the white
no,
team.
for sure. Crushed him. No, absolutely crushed him.
Yeah.
So that's our best of week. Our worst of week, it could be the guy who does the jump off the garbage can, the literal nutcracker.
It might have been tailbone cracker too.
Or this guy. Or this guy.
Of course,
Or this guy.
you'd.
Look at this
just-
guy.
Oh!
This guy is, look at the yard sale of clothing and shoes everywhere.
Oh, and I just realized he loses his headphones here
Oh, no,
too.
totally.
Oh, and his hat.
And has he got a man bun? I thought he had a man bun. So
No.
that's just something you can't
Is that
have.
Draco Malfoy from the Harry Potter movies?
It's
that
not
just
Tony
lost
Hawk,
his manhood?
but he did crush his. Well, you get it.
I'm glad you love this clip so
Oh,
much.
it's amazing. The world should have more stuff like that.
But that implies that the world is full of idiots, and that's not a good
The
thing.
world is full of idiots, including
Yeah.
2 right here. They're just full.
I suppose. So I'm excited for CPCA. I need a finals pick for you. Stand like a finals pick.
I think Jamie Labacane is probably going to win the CPCA this year.
Okay.
I think he's got a good outfit. I think he's going to win. He really rose up the standings last season, but there's a lot of challengers in there. Like BJ Carey is going to be a guy to be messed with, and of course Ray Mitswing,
Yeah.
the chief. He's always there.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching. The gloves are off. Next week, 1 week, not 2.
See you guys.
See ya.